Hey, hi, it's me, your Void, and welcome to my new corner of the internet. So, as you can see, I have finally moved. These are my new bookshelves. This is how they will stand. This is not, however, how they will be filled, because right now everything is just shoved onto the shelves, so I know how many of these I can actually fill with my books. Arranged, nothing is where it is supposed to be, and yes, I very much hate that, but this will occupy me for weeks to come, and I have videos to film, so here we are. The chaos on these shelves is totally fine with me, because this here video is going to be a recommendation video for the Adventurerathon. The next round has happened, is happening, will be happened time. But yeah, the next round of the Adventurerathon is upon us, and this time we are shipwrecked. And there are a bunch of prompts, and as it is my duty as your co-host, I have to give you a recommendation video, and I very much want to give you a recommendation video. That's exactly what I'm going to do now. I will give you a recommendation video. I specifically went out to find at least 5 different recommendations for every prompt. That includes the main prompts for every character, the optional prompt for every character, and 5 books per prompt for the ship repair stuffs. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, please refer to Kirsty's announcement video for this round of the Adventurerathon. She has made everything much more coherent than I could ever explain it, so please refer to everything she said and not to what I'm saying right now. But yeah, long story short, for every prompt that exists, I will give you 5 recommendations. Footnote: I have not read all of these books. There are some books I have read, there are some books that are on my TBR. I also did not enjoy every book that will be on this list, but they fulfill the prompts, and liking a book is a very individual thing, so maybe you like what I don't like, and then we can't be friends. Because I haven't read all of these, I will not go into any details with these books, and even though I could put in the work to give you all the trigger warnings and all the representation, I did not have the time to do that because I am still in the middle of moving. Time is a resource I don't have. So this will be short and sweet, and you have to do your own research on these books. I'm sorry, I can't do everything at once. Character number 1, the assassin. Prompt number 1, have something with a defensive plot or a defensive word in the title. For this, you could go with any of the Bloodborne comics, for example. We have The Healing Thirst, we have A Song of Crows, and most fitting for this prompt with the defensive plot specifically would be The Death of Sleep, because in this one we have the hunter and they are protecting someone. Also fitting for the prompt would be God Killer by Hannah Kaner, because the titular God Killer is actually protecting a child who is somewhat protected by a tiny god. There's a whole thing there. Also, Soul Keeper by David Dalglish is about a protective thing. The titular, like the character on the cover, he is technically a fantasy cop who's hunting monsters, but he's also technically protecting the souls of those who've died by making sure they get to the afterlife. So there is a lot of protecting going on here. I deeply apologize if you can hear the bells ringing in the background. I am very confused because there is no church around here. That's so weird. Also, defensive word in the title and probably in the plot, 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City by KJ Parker. There is literally the word defend in there. And as far as I know, this is about like a guy who has to spontaneously make sure that a city isn't invaded during a siege. So, pretty defensive plot if you ask me. And the last recommendation for this prompt is Nine Fox Gambit by Yoon-ha Lee. In this one we follow a character who is sent to a fort, and they have to recapture the fort and then hold the fort, because if they lose it, the galaxy dies. Or something like that. Not quite sure. The optional prompt for the assassin has to feature the word shadow or night in the title or on the cover somehow. So we have a very obvious pick, which is Shadow and Bone Throne by Leigh Bardugo. Most people should have heard about this simply because there's a Netflix show out there that was cancelled way too early. Yes, I'm still salty about that. And this one is literally about the fight of the dark against the light, technically, kind of. There's like a giant shadow wall, and we follow a lady who now figures out that she can cast sunlight, you know? And then we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. It's a circus that opens at night, and there are two people, and they have been trained to fight in a deadly duel. Yeah, it's a circus that opens at night, and it's the Night Circus. Then we have The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. I have no idea what this is about. I only know that we follow a woman / girl. I think it's a girl. I think this is a YA. I'm not quite sure. But she marries a evil shadow or emperor daddy kind of situation because she needs to get close to him to kill him. And that is all I know about it. I think it's a revenge plot. I'm not sure. It has shadow in the title. Just like The Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I hope I didn't turn the names around again. This is basically a Mexican version, a Mexican folklore version of Cinderella, where we follow a girl who accidentally releases and binds a death god to herself. And now they are traveling all throughout the country to pick up his missing body pieces so he can come back to his glory and reclaim his empire or something. And we have The Night Watch by Sergei Lukyanenko. And this is a series about a organization that is defending normal-ass people from, like, the supernatural. It's like supernatural police, basically. I don't know much about the plot. I had this on my TBR for years. I just haven't gotten around to it. But it is very much like Harry Dresden things, I think. That's it for The Assassin. Moving on to The Hunter. The main prompt for The Hunter wants us or you to read something with a poisonous plant on the cover or food on the cover. So there are two very obvious recommendations for this. Belladonna and the second book, Foxglove by Adeline Grace, and I think by the time this video is out, book 3 is also out, which would be Wisteria, and I think Wisteria is also highly poisonous. These are YA gothic fantasy books where we follow a girl who can not only see death but also see ghosts, and she, at least in book 1, she is solving a murder and an almost murder. And death is just always around because death is very intrigued by this girl who can see him. Then there's another Foxglove with the first book in the Nightshade Crown trilogy by Hannah Witten. Footnote, this one I haven't read, and this one is also not really on my TBR, but it has Foxglove in the title of the first book, and I think the second book is Hemlock Queen, and I think Hemlock is also very poisonous, and the whole thing is called Nightshade Crown, and Nightshade is very poisonous if you do it wrong. It is very easy to do wrong. So poisonous plant covered things. Not poisonous, but very much edible is the apple on the cover of Teacher of the Year by M.A. Waddell. Yeah, and this is a story about a kindergarten teacher falling in love with a dad of a new student of his. And it's very cute. I love that very much. Go read it. It's very gay. Not technically poisonous, but definitely a deadly plant is involved in the Shinigami Doctor series. This is volume 2. I do not have volume 1 or 3 available to hold up because it is all the way up there, and I am a tiny human being and I don't know where the step ladder is. In this one, there are no plants left on the planet except the Shinigami plant. And the Shinigami plant, again, it's not technically poisonous, but if you are infected by its spores, it will grow inside you until you explode into a giant flower, killing you and possibly everyone around you. And the Shinigami doctors are fighting these flowers. So it's not technically poisonous, but it is a plant that can technically infect you via spores and then will kill you. So I guess it's more like a mushroom, but still it is a plant and it kills you. I count that. Moving on to the optional prompt for the hunter, which is to read a book that features something that is in some way related to hunting. My first recommendation for you is Soul Eater by Atsushi Okubo. In this one, we are not technically hunting anything like game or something. In this one, we hunt people whose souls are turning to insanity because insanity is like an infection, and if we let it run rampant, the world will just implode, I guess. So we follow students of a school that are specifically taught how to hunt down these insanity souls, and then their weapons, which are also people, can eat the souls, and when they eat 99 of them and then they hunt and kill a witch and eat that soul, they become a super duper weapon. This is my favorite manga. Again, another type of hunting we have in A Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. In this one, we follow two serial killers falling in love. Now, what does this have to do with hunting? Well, they are serial killers, and they hunt specifically other serial killers, and they specifically in this one have like an annual showdown where both of them compete in hunting down one of those serial killers. It's very cutesy and it is very freaky and out there, and I love this book. I loved it. A staple when it comes to hunting things is The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. People should know what The Witcher is about at this point, but in this one we follow Geralt of Rivia, who is a witcher, and witchers are just super powered monster hunters, and that is exactly what Geralt does a lot of times. He's hunting monsters, and he also accidentally won a child. Yes, technically, if you think about it, he accidentally won a child because he did a good thing, and this child is also now learning how to hunt with him, and she wants to become a witcher. And another kind of unconventional kind of hunting we have in Uncharted by Christopher Golden. Yes, you see that right. There is a book that has to do with the Uncharted video games by Naughty Dog, and this one is a book that has a different story. This story is completely removed from the video games, except that our main character is Nathan Drake. That is the only connection to the Uncharted franchise. It's that we follow Nathan Drake, and he is hunting down treasures. That's a type of hunting. Moving right along to the mage, the main prompt that has to be fulfilled is to read something that has fire and flames on the cover. What is better than having the word in the title or the picture in the title, having both in the title? Both in the title is Fire Force by Atsushi Okubo. That's the guy who made Soul Eater, and this is just as whack. And in this one you follow people who are fighting fire, literally with fire. If you look at this, the fire coming out of his feet, that is because these firefighters do have magical abilities relating to fire, and they are fighting monsters who were people at one point, because the most deadly thing in this world is spontaneously bursting into fire and becoming a fire monster. The fire soldiers fight that fire. How can this be a recommendation video by me when I'm not at least mentioning Brian McClellan once in The Shadow of Lightning? If you can see in the background, there is a burning plane and city and whatnot, and yeah, fire on the cover. I very much enjoyed this one. This has nothing to do with the Powder Mage universe. This is the new book series by Brian McClellan. Brian, please. Please. You just started a Kickstarter for another short story novella thing. I don't want that. I don't want that. I need book 2. Brian. Brian. Book 2. Please. Thank you. In this one, you follow a cast of characters in a world that has integrated magic into every piece of their society, and now these characters figure out, oh shit, it's a finite resource and it's running out fast, but also there is a murder plot going on and war, and so many things are going on in this one. It's very cool. Then we have Lord of Eternal Night by Ben Alderson, which is a romance between a vampire and a witch, and it is kind of loosely a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I have a personal vendetta with the statement it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, because I have yet to see a Beauty and the Beast retelling with an actual beast. In this one, the vampire is supposed to be the beast. Vampires! Anyway, there's fire on the cover because the witch is a fire witch, and they are supposed to kill each other, but then they fall in love. Yay! Another romance is Learn My Lesson by Katie Roberts, which is the second book in the Wicked Villains series by her. And in this one we follow Hades, and not Persephone, because this is Disney villains retelling, so it's Megara and Hercules, because why be satisfied with one when you can have two, right? People have two hands, and they end up in a throuple, and this is a very spicy BDSM situation going on. Fire. Blue this time. And the fifth recommendation for this prompt is Battle Mage by Peter A. Flannery, another one of my favorites. And as you can see, that dragon in the background is puking fire. And in this one we follow a boy who discovers he has the same magical powers as his dad, and he was kind of bullied because his dad did a thing that was highly controversial, and then his dad died for that highly controversial thing, and now he figures out, oh shit, I have the same magical powers, and he is then going through the training of becoming a battle mage, but everyone is like remembering what his dad did, so people are naturally a bit when it comes to his story, and at the same time, the whole kingdom, empire, thingamathing thing is being actively threatened by an army of demons, and they are very powerful, and they actually need people like our main character, and we don't have a lot of them left, so there's a whole thing going on. Tension, drama, we love it. And the optional prompt for the mages is the exact opposite. Now we need something with a story or setting where water is just playing a very important part. Be it the setting, be it the water magic or whatever. And for this, I once again refer to the Bloodborne comics. If you know, you know. This time we can glance over. I mean, technically water is important in all of the Bloodborne things, but it's most important in A Song of Crows! There's a whole lake shenanigan thing going on here. Again, if you know Bloodborne, you know why water is an important thing in the Bloodborne universe. Have I ever mentioned that I am deeply, deeply in love with Bloodborne? Have I ever played it to completion? No, because I'm bad at such video games, but I love Bloodborne. Water is also kind of an important role in the Daughter of the Pirate King, and the second book in the duology, The Daughter of the Siren Queen. Ask me what kind of role the water is playing in a book about pirates and sirens. Correct! We are on the high seas, we are pirating, we are swimming a lot, and our main character actually needs to submerge herself in water to replenish her powers and heal and be even cooler than she is on land. Water also plays a very important role in The Lies We Sing to the Sea by Sarah Underwood, which is a story in which we follow a girl who is literally drowned at the beginning of the book as a sacrifice for Poseidon, you know, god of the sea, and then she comes back as a sea creature for a funny revenge thing because she was sacrificed to appease a curse Poseidon has put on the island of Ithaca. Cue the epic, the musical soundtrack. There's a lot of water things going on in here. Speaking of the ocean, we also have The Deep by Rivers Solomon, which is a novella based on a song, which is based on another song, I think, that came with backstory, world building, based on the actual slave trade that happened so many years ago. It's a whole rat's tail of explanation how this thing came to be, but it is a beautiful, beautiful story about the importance of remembering your own history, and it takes place underwater, because we follow a main character who is not human, but an underwater creature, and she's unhappily swimming around doing things. And the last recommendation for this is something I know absolutely nothing about. I picked this book up and put it on my TBR. I haven't read it yet. I put it on my TBR because I read The Deep and I had a little thing for the ocean for like a week, so I picked up the book, and the book is called Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. I literally don't know anything about this. I know what the title is and I know the author's name. That is literally all I know about this. I am so sorry, but judging by the name, I think water is going to play an important part in this one. Moving right along to something a little less embarrassing, namely books I know shit about. The Minstrel! The Minstrel needs to keep morale up, so the main prompt is to read something that has a happy or positive word in the title. Now, happy and positive words can mean different things for different people. I, for example, when I was looking through my books, I found a lot of words that make me happy to see them in a title, and I thought to myself, I am kind of weird because these are not happy words. But I found a couple that I think are just like genuinely accepted as happy words. One being the last smile in Thunder City. This is like a fantasy noir story. In this one we follow Fetch Phillips, who is a private eye, but specifically for supernatural creatures. And he's doing this because he is suffering from a tremendous amount of guilt, and he specifically works only for paranormal creatures because in this world magic is dead. Magic is gone. So if you are a paranormal creature, a magical creature, your own magic is also gone. Meaning if you are a 4, 5, 6, 700-year-old elf, you are suddenly not young and youthful and pretty and strutting away like you own a whole forest kingdom. You look like you are a 4, 5, 6, 700-year-old person. Stuff like that. Dragons fall out of the sky, the whole shenanigans, and Fetch Phillips is helping all these supernatural creatures who are now losing their powers with their problems, while he is happily ignoring his own problems. Another happy, positively word is City of Carnal Delight. Delight. That's a happy word, right? I know my dictionaries. And in this one, we follow a bunch of people falling in love in 1920s London while doing paranormal shenanigans. I think they are hunting down the ghost of Jack the Ripper while they all fall in love with each other. Yes, this is a polycule romance. Another happy word is How to Bite Your Neighbor and Win. We all like winning. A Wager by D.N. Bryn, which is one of my favorite books of all time. And in this one, we follow a guy who is snacking on his former best friend slash neighbor, and they slowly fall in love, and it's just very cutesy and cozy, and it has vampires in it, and we all know I love vampires, right? Vampires! And because we just had a gay thing, let's stay gay and queer and whatnot with Blessed by the Cupid Distribution System by, I have forgotten the author's name, shame on me, but being blessed is a happy and positive word. In this one, we follow a character who is pissed off at the concept of Valentine's Day because they never had a Valentine before, and we follow another character who is a Cupid, and her job literally is to make people happy on Valentine's Day, and they kind of stumble into each other, and then they just go on dates, and they speed run a bunch of first dates, and then they figure out, oh, but what if we were actually dating? It was so cute! And then I chose a read that is... There is no happy or positive word in there technically, but every time I read the title, it makes me chuckle because I am a 5-year-old. So I chuckle at The Critters from the Poo Lagoon by D.M. Guy. Yes, I just made a poop joke. I have no idea what this is about. It was free one day and I picked it up. It is the second book in something called the 24/7 Demon Mart. I don't know, but I think there might be monsters coming out of the sewer system. The optional prompt for the minstrel wants you to read something that features a camp, like summer camp situation, thingamathing thing, or a similar type of setting. And for that I have the book that everyone should think of when we are thinking camp, and that is Percy Jackson. All of the Percy Jackson series. There is a camp for half-gods and for demigods, and this one we follow the titular Percy Jackson as he is going on adventures that are starting and ending in the summer camp, I guess. Yeah, camp. And then we also have Camp Damascus by Chuck Tingle. I know nothing about this book. I only know that it's written by a guy with a funny name who always wears like a brown paper bag over his face and has written beautiful, beautiful books like Pounded in My Butt by My Own Butt and some weird dinosaur romances. So I don't know what this is about, but I think this one is less humorous than being pounded in the butt by a triceratops, but horror actually. But Camp Damascus, I think it has to do with a camp. Another camp, another horror would be Camp Carnage by Elliot Arthur Cross, I believe. This one I own. I think it's a horror, and I think it's taking place at a summer camp, but I don't know anything about it other than that. Camp, here we go. I also don't know anything about Lumberjanes by N.D. Stevenson, but N.D. Stevenson is the brilliant mind behind the Nimona comic, and I think that this is a camp. I never really took an interest into things happening at a summer camp, so these are all just guesses for me. I have not read any of these other than Percy Jackson. I read Percy Jackson, but I don't know. I also didn't read The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. I don't even know if this is taking place at a camp. I literally had to Google things taking place at a camp, and the internet said this is taking place at a camp, so we go with that. I'm so sorry that I can't be a bigger help with this specific prompt. It's just nothing I am interested in reading, so I don't have a lot of things relating to this, and I don't know a lot of things relating to this. I'm sorry. So we're moving right along to the pirate, and the pirates in this specific round are the ones who are kind of leading the charge, given that we are shipwrecked, meaning our ship broke, and the pirates should have the expertise to fix the ship, meaning they should be reading for their main prompt something that features something broken on the cover. For this, I whip out all of my Andrew Joseph White books, because we have Compound Fracture by Andrew Joseph White. We have a broken skull on the front cover here, so that might be a little bit of a stretch, but the jacket is also kind of broken, and yeah, also this thing is falling apart, so broken things. The plot of this is also revolving around something broken, because there is a family feud in the Appalachian hinterlands going on, and we follow this here guy, a trans boy named Miles, and he has a horrible, horrible summer because of this family feud. We also have Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White, because this chain you see here is broken up here, and you have a lot of broken buildings in the front, because This is a post-apocalyptic setting, although the post-apocalypse has not yet really started. We are still kind of in the midst of the apocalypse happening. Brought forth by fundamental Christians, and they released a bioweapon, and now we are living in not quite a zombie apocalypse, but kind of a zombie apocalypse. It's more like the Last of Us zombie apocalypse, you know, like less undead things and more like mutated, twisted living things. And we follow a trans character, a trans boy named Benji, and he is infected with a version of this bioweapon that is slowly turning him into a monster, and he runs away because he doesn't want to be used as a bioweapon. And the last Andrew Joseph White I'm holding up is The Spirit Bears His Teeth, and as you can see we are holding a broken glass shard in our hand in this cover, so that is the broken thing. I'm also pretty sure that eye up there doesn't look really healthy, so I could say this is also broken. I think. I haven't read this one yet. It is on my list for the things I want to read this year, and in this one, this is like a Victorian age thing, and as with all Andrew Joseph White books, we follow a trans main character through some very weird horror-esque shenanigans. I think in this one we are summoning ghosts or something. Not quite sure. Then of course I have to also mention In the Shadow of Lightning again, because as you can see, very prevalent, the glass surrounding this character in the middle is very much broken. It's very much broken, and it's also like on the back of the cover, so the broken glass. You could also argue that the psyche of the main character is very much broken. I won't elaborate on that because that would be spoilers. And then we also have Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. Don't know what just happened with my voice there. And as you can see, there is a broken-ish crystal ball thing on the cover, and that is the poof. And in this one, we follow Amari, who is kind of desperate to find her brother who has disappeared, and one day she figures out, oh shit, paranormal things exist, magic is a thing, and she is invited to this training situation, and that's the world her brother was in without her knowing. So now with this whole new world opening up to her, she hopes that she can find clues to find her brother while going there. Broken crystal ball on the cover. And this next one is kind of a stretch, because technically if you look at the cover of All Systems Red by Martha Wells, there's nothing technically broken on the cover. Technically, because I interpreted this person on the cover to be Murderbot, and Murderbot at one point hacked its own governor module that is technically supposed to regulate its behavior. So technically that government module is broken, and since it is an integral part of Murderbot's systems, technically the Murderbot depicted on the cover of this is broken. It's a software issue. Just gotta know how to bend these prompts, man. The optional prompt for the pirates wants you to read something that features something that is running out, whatever that may be. Now I could hold up In the Shadow of Lightning again, because again magic is a finite resource and it is running out, but I also have other things that are running out here. Namely time in Little Thieves and also in Painted Devils. Both of these plots happen on a timeline, so there is a clock ticking down and it is very relentless. So we are running out of time, quite literally, for multiple different reasons in these two books. In this one we follow Vanya and later on also Conrad, and Vanya is a thief. She's pulling a half Robin Hood, like she's stealing from the rich, but she's not technically giving to the poor, she's giving to herself. So there's that. And in the first book she does that, and a goddess decides, I don't like your greed, and puts a countdown clock on her head, quite literally. And that's the plot of book 1, and in book 2 we have another god putting another clock on her for something she did. We're running out of time. We are also kind of running out of time in City of Dusk by Tara Sim. In this one the world is dying because the gods were like, fuck it, and they sealed themselves away from the world. The problem being the world is held together by the magic coming from the gods, and because the gods made like a vacuum seal between them and the world is now dying because there is no way to replenish the magic. And we follow multiple characters with multiple different kinds of magics given by these different gods, and they try to figure out a way to bring the gods, or at least magic, back to stop the world from just dying. Time is also running out in The Lord of the Empty Isles by Jules Arbeau. I always want to say Jules. Time is running out in this one because our main character has cursed someone to die. Problem being, there is a thing called bonds, and there is one kind of bond that can't be broken. and this kind of bond happens to be between the person that was cursed and the main character. So now we are literally running out of time because we are both dying now, and we need to figure out how to stop the curse from killing. Space pirate shenanigans ensue because of that. We have queer platonic relationships left, right, and center. It's gender fuckery. Cute little read. Can only recommend. And again, an exercise in stretching and bending prompts in Act Your Age, Eve Brown. There's not time that's running out. It's the patience of Eve Brown's parents that is running out. They give her like a deadline because Eve Brown is someone who is constantly starting up projects, and at the slightest inconvenience she's abandoning the whole project, and she's like flip-flopping around between all these projects, never really finding her thing, and her parents are giving her an ultimatum: find what you want to do or we find it for you. And then she accidentally runs someone over with a car after interviewing for a chef position, and then she just sticks around and helps him run a bed and breakfast, and they slowly fall in love. Next up are the Seers, and they have to do the weather broadcasting. So their main prompt is to read something that features the sun or rain on the cover. For this one, again, I had to cut some corners. I had to cheat a little bit. Let's start with the obvious She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I don't know what this is about, but I think it's someone becoming the sun, maybe? I don't know. And the next obvious choice is Sunbringer by Hannah Kaner, which is the second book in the... It's not the Godkiller trilogy, it's the Lost Gods trilogy, something like that. But Sunbringer has a stylized sun behind the guy that is not Poseidon, and it also has the word sun in the title. So there you go, there's a sun there. Another sun featured on the cover is in Who Fears Death by Nnedi Okorafor? I hope I said that right. I am not quite sure, but as you can see, there is a sun there behind the person's head. And in this one, I believe we follow a girl who was born with the wrong physical characteristics, which indicate that she has some weird magical power, so she's always ostracized, but then she uses those powers to unite something. I don't know. And now we come to the two things where I had to bend the rules a bit. Another sun, multiple suns, are on the cover of Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, because technically, if you think about it, all those stars in the background, they are all suns. Every sun is a star. Some of these stars might be regular old suns. Some might be red giants, some might be white dwarfs, some might be a binary pulsar system about to crash into each other and cause a havoc in the space-time fabric of the universe, but some are probably just suns. In Gideon the Ninth, we follow a escape room murder mystery plot. In Gideon the Ninth, we follow Gideon and Harrow, and they have to team up and go to a weird planet, and there they do some escape room murder mystery shenanigans to get a spot with the Emperor. And this book is frequently described as lesbian necromancers in space, and that is exactly what you get. These main characters are lesbian necromancers in space. Be aware, this book is not ADHD friendly. It has a huge cast of characters, and every one of them has 3 normal names and then a bunch of nicknames that are used interchangeably throughout the whole book. So this is not ADHD friendly. And again, we have these escape room-esque trials and a murder mystery going on in a locked room situation, just that it's like a palace on a planet. Not ADHD friendly, but the story is very good. I really love this book. And another book where we are kind of cheating in the same kind of way, with like stars are technically suns, like all suns are stars, so some stars on the cover might be suns, is A Close and Common Orbit by Becky Chambers. You also probably can read any of the other books in the Wayfarers universe because they all have covers in space. So there has to be a sun on there somewhere, right? And the whole Wayfarers thing is you follow the kind of interconnected, semi-interconnected standalones. They all happen in the same world, universe, and it's like character-driven slice of life pieces in this giant galactic commons with like different life forms and species and places to live and spaceships to live, and like it's just snapshots of daily lives of characters in this specific world. The world building is amazing, the character building is amazing, not a lot of plot going on. I actually would describe these stories as kind of cozy because there's not a lot of action going on, there's not a lot of tension that needs resolving. It's very much just slice of life from people who are living a very different life than people on Earth. Moving on straight away to the optional prompt for the seers, which wants you to read a book where we start out with at least one character in a very bleak situation. And the perfect pick for that is the Blackwing trilogy by Ed McDonald, because this main character does not get a singular break. He doesn't even get the thought of a break. This man goes through it. This is a world that is kind of Mad Max inspired, but there are also eldritch gods and monstrosities, and they want to break mankind in half and then eat it for breakfast, and they probably can. And this guy, our main character, works for one of these entities that is still on the side of mankind, but is still a fucking asshole. Our main character is being tasked by this entity. Yo, you do that. You save the world. You human. I know I have all the power, but you human. You defend mankind. So you can imagine that this man is not getting a singular breath of air. And it gets worse as the series progresses. This man is not having a good time. Similarly, apocalyptic bleak situation is in 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. Because in this world, the apocalypse happens every couple of years, and it's always a different kind of apocalypse. And also our main character, she just came home, found the body of her child, and her other child and her husband are missing because the husband actually kidnapped that other child. So now she has to go through this apocalyptic world to get her daughter back. Things are pretty shitty in the beginning, and they are not necessarily getting better throughout the book. Bleak, in a different kind of way, is the beginning of Entranced by the Basilisks by Lillian Lark. This is a romance between a woman and 2 basilisks. Now, why does this start out bleak? Because this woman only meets these 2 basilisks because she opened a box and then she got cursed and now she has snakes for hair, and she is just a regular person. She's just a regular human. She didn't know about paranormal stuff until her best friend, like a week ago, outed herself as a witch to her, and then she opens a box and now she has snake hair. So she's in a pretty desperate place, and she's struggling with her hair, and there's also some very, not bleak situations, but there's much tension going around this triad for different kind of reasons, the snake hair being one of them. This starts out very bleak, at least for one character, namely the one in the middle, the lady, and yeah. This is a monster smut romance, so be aware that there are certain anatomical variations going on. It's also queer, because it's a poly romance and everyone is doing it with everyone. They are all in love with each other. And another very bleak situation we find ourselves in is another dystopian post-apocalypse situation with The Monsters in Our Shadow by, I forget the name of the author. And in this book, depression takes on a physical form, sticks to you in your shadow, and creeps ever closer until it literally eats you alive. That is the situation we find ourselves in at the beginning of the book, and in the middle of the book, and technically also at the end of the book, but at the end of the book we know more about these monsters and things are happening. But yeah, our main character has one of these depression shadows, and it is creeping ever closer. He already had to give up his daughter for it, and on top of it all, he is the axilist, meaning he is the guy who has to take people who are about to be eaten alive outside of the city so they can be eaten alive without the monster then being loose and eating everyone else. So he has a bucket full of guilt that he's just carrying around with him that is also turning into his shadow that wants to eat him alive. You get the gist, right? You get it. And then the last character we have is the Sovereign, and the main prompt for the Sovereign is to read something that features a boss, a leader of some kind of way. And for this, I have to mention the ultimate book, Promise of Blood by Brian McClellan, because we follow a field marshal named Thomas, and he is literally the leader of a nation. because he made himself the leader of a nation. And in this book, we follow him as he is trying to establish a new government because he dispatched of the old government, and war with neighboring countries is also kind of imminent, but also there are magical secrets that are being revealed, and also daddy issues. Not Thomas who has the daddy issues, he is the dad that someone has issues with. Another leader is featured in Red, Right, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, something like that. Because this book features the President of the United States of America and the King. Or the Queen? I forgot. The royals. The British royals. And we follow the two sons of these households. We follow a prince and we follow the son of we follow the first son, and they fall in love. Another leader is, a lot of leaders actually are featured in Naruto by... Shit, I forgot the mangaka's name. Because in Naruto, we follow the titular character of Naruto as he becomes finally a shinobi, a ninja, and on this first step of the ladder he's taking in his career, he is assigned a team, and he is part of a 3-people team, and all these 3-people teams have a leader, a more experienced leader. Kakashi! My love. So there's that, but also he desperately wants to become Hokage, which is like the leader of the city of these ninjas. There are multiple levels of boss and team leaders and whatnot. I mentioned it before, so I have to mention it again. The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This is the first book in the Wayfarer series, and technically, again, there are suns on the cover. You probably can't see them because I don't know if my camera can pick them up, but they are like teeny tiny stars in the background. It's actually, I think, the Milky Way or something. There are suns on here. But in this one, we specifically follow a spaceship crew. We follow a new member of the spaceship crew. And what does a spaceship crew have? Correct, a captain. What is a captain other than a leading person? The boss of these people on the ship. Again, these are more like slice of life pieces following amazing characters. And the last leader on my list would be Kaz Brekker, the leader of the Crows in Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is a book where we follow a bunch of thieves, and they take on a very, very, very lucrative, very dangerous job. And it is led by Kaz Brekker, the genius of this thieving group, who is also technically kind of leading his own like gambling establishment or bar or pub. So there's a lot of leading going on in this one. And technically, if you want to be really precise, there's also a prince slash czar showing up in this one, which is also a kind of leader. And the optional prompt for the sovereigns is to read something that features an uprising of some sort or a social movement, something like that. So of course I have to mention Promise of Blood again by Brian McClellan, because again, we are literally dispatching the government and then we establish a new one. And some people aren't happy with the fact that we are disposing of the king, so there is some uprising going on from the people who are supporting the king. I mean, it starts with an uprising and then we have a counter uprising, I guess. It's good shit! Read it! Also, another kind of social uprising thing happens in Compound Fracture by Andrew Joseph White, because the blood feud I mentioned before in this started with a miners' protest. They were protesting for better working conditions, and this triggered this blood feud that goes on in this book, and this book then has another uprising, namely Miles's family against the other family that the feud is with. But then at the end there's also like more social uprising and different kinds of things, and also Miles is a socialist, so that's an uprising in and of itself. So here we go. On my TBR, also featuring a social uprising, is An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon, and in this one we follow a generational ship, meaning it's a spaceship that travels through space to a destination, but the people who are starting the journey very much know that they are not going to be the ones arriving at the end of the journey. They are there to live their life on the spaceship, have a family, and then their children or their children's children are going to reach the point where they actually wanted to go. And on this generational ship there is a caste system established, and we follow a character who is shaking things up in this caste system on this ship. And then we have Scythe by Neil Shusterman. The whole trilogy is basically one giant uprising building from book 1 all the way to book 3. In book 1, it is a more subdued thing, because firstly we followed our two main characters as they are called upon to become scythes in a world where only the scythes are allowed to to permanently kill people. Because in this world, we have fixed dying. You can literally get hit by a bus. You will not die. Even if your heart stops, you can be revived. You don't die of old age. You don't die through injury or sickness. Sickness actually doesn't exist anymore in this world. But if you get targeted by a scythe, they are allowed to kill you. When they kill you, when they drive you over with a bus, then you are dead, because the giant cloud we all worship is not allowed to revive you then. It's for population control. People still have to die in a world where we don't die anymore. Our two main characters are called upon to become scythes, and then shenanigans ensue. And in this one, we are introduced to the concept of a scythe and how they work, and the different politic factions within the scythedom. The more these two characters learn about this system, they realize how fucked up it is in certain aspects, and things bubble up from there. The social uprising in this one is certain people expressing their unease with the political direction things are taking, and one character says, no, we stop it right here, and he does something. The actual uprising happens in book 2 and 3, but this one very much is the catalyst for it, so I count it. And of course I have to mention it because everyone and their mom is currently talking about, and it is the mother of social uprising stories, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, in which we follow a girl from District 12 who is called upon to join in children murder games for entertainment purposes. Do I even have to talk about what The Hunger Games is about? I mean, everyone knows it at this point, right? We all know what this book is about, and we all know that it is right now very popular again because another book has been published just now. We are going to speedrun this section now because this video is already taking way too much of my time, and I am not looking forward to editing this shit right now. So, we're going to speed things up a bit, right? Those are the character prompts. So now we go to the ship repair prompts, meaning these are 5 prompts. You can read all of them, you can read none of them. You can read multiple books for each one of those prompts. You're just not allowed to double up. So if you read a book to fulfill the lumber prompt, you cannot count that book. For the rope prompt, it has to be individual books, right? For the lumber prompt, you are supposed to read something that has at least one tree on the cover. We can take Compound Fracture by Andrew Joseph White for this because, as you can see in the background, there are a bunch of pine trees. This takes place in the Appalachian Mountains. There was a lot of trees there. You could also choose to pick up any of the Gods of Blood and Powder trilogy by Brian McClellan, which is the second trilogy in the Powder Mage universe. I recommend reading the Powder Mage trilogy first before you pick up these, but they all feature trees on the cover. Sins of Empire right here, that's a tree. And you have Wrath of Empire, a giant tree here and a fallen one there. And the final book, Blood of Empire, more trees. Trees galore! The second prompt is Iron Fittings. To get the nails, you are supposed to read something that features a metal in the title. For this, you could pick up any of the 9 Iron Druid Chronicle books by Kevin Hearn, because they all have the Iron Druid in the title, at least one of these, for this prompt specifically. You could also pick up the Shades of Magic Steel Prince comics, because steel is also a metal. In this one we follow the person who is about to become king in the Shades of Magic trilogy. Or you could reach for a classic and read the Golden Compass, if you feel so inclined, because gold is a metal. Then we have the Canvas prompt, and the Canvas prompt wants you to read something that features clothing on the cover. It is allowed to read something with clothing on the cover that is actively being worn on the cover. So as long as there is a not naked person on the cover, you're good to go. For that, you could decide to read The Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, because there's a beautiful dress featured on the cover. That is clothing. You could also try to pick up any book in the Guide to Dating Vampires vampire series by D.N. Bryn, which features vampires, and they are clothed on the cover, and it's very queer and very neurodiverse, and vampirism is a disability in this one. Can only recommend. I love these books. Read them. If you want more dresses, you could also read A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. This is like Bridgerton, but make it queer, and oh my god, I swoon so hard for this. Then for the rope prompt, you have to read something that features a bond. Family, some kind of blood relation, friends, whatever. You could read Spy Family for this, because it has the word family in the title. Even though no one is blood related, none of these people are blood related, but it says family in the title, and that counts. Or you could read a boys love manga romance thing with bromance, because that is a kind of bond, and yes, they fall in love throughout this, but they start off as best friends, as bros, so to speak, which is also a kind of bond. Another bond would be, again, the family in Family Business. These people are blood related. Also written by Jonathan Sims, not the head archivist of the Magnus Institute in London, but the guy who wrote that podcast. And the last prompt is pitch, because we need to glue everything together. So for this one, you are supposed to read something that has a predominantly black cover, like The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Don't read this when you're allergic to books that don't have plot. If you want plot, don't read this. You could also read King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett Sinclair. Vampires in there! Vampires! If you want to take the Lord's name in vain as well, you can read Priest or Sinner or Saint by Sierra Simone. True, it's two different kinds of black, and this one is almost grey, but it's still kind of black in my opinion, so you can read this. And if you don't like this, you can read this with a cover like this, that is predominantly black. Or if you want to go all out, I don't know about the English cover, but definitely the German cover of I Am the Knight by Ethan Cross. If I hold it like this, you don't even know that there's a title on there, because it's literally just embossed. It is black on black, and the only way you can see the title is that it is embossed and glossy. It is so black that they even printed it on the sides. This is the blackest book I have. If this doesn't count, I don't know what does. And that's it. That's my way too long recommendation video. When I planned this out, I didn't think it would be this long, but here we are. This is almost 90 minutes of raw footage, just so you know. Wow. If you made it this far into the video, let me know if you're participating in the Adventurerathon, what kind of character you are participating as. If you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments. You can also head to our Discord channel. Again, the rules for this readathon are explained over at Kirsty's channel. She does a way better job of explaining the shit than I do. Leave me a scroll emoji in the comments if you don't have anything to say, and I guess I will see you in the next video. Bye!